You just ate something thinking it was healthy, or skipped something thinking it was bad for you. Either way, you were probably wrong. I'm the LieLab monkey, and these are 40 food myths, from the most shocking to the best-selling. Subscribe now for fewer lies and more myth-busting. Popeye gulped it straight from the can. Your mother made you chew it down. They told you that iron lived in there, but the whole myth comes from an error in the data. In the 19th century, the German chemist Erich von Wolff measured the iron in spinach. For decades, textbooks taught a figure inflated 10 times higher than the real one. The popular story says that someone moved a decimal point by mistake. The criminologist Mike Sutton, from Nottingham Trent University, investigated the origin in 2010 and showed that the decimal story is probably exaggerated, but that the inflated value did exist for decades. Elsie Chrysler Seeger took that false figure and created Popeye in 1929 as nutritional propaganda so that kids would eat their vegetables. There's another problem. The iron in spinach is the kind the body absorbs the worst. Barely 2 to 10% makes it into the blood, against 15 to 35% of the iron from meat. The oxalates in spinach also block part of the absorption. Liver, clams, lentils, and red meat have far more usable iron per serving. Popeye was propaganda. The iron lives somewhere else. Your pediatrician recommends it. Your mom repeats it. If you have a cold, no milk. In 1990, John Pinnock published a double-blind trial in the American Review of Respiratory Disease. 60 volunteers were exposed to the cold virus and received either milk or an identical placebo. Mucus production was the same in both groups. The feeling of having something in your throat is real, but it's the fat in the milk coating the inside of your mouth, not extra mucus. The myth comes from traditional Chinese medicine, which advised against dairy in respiratory illnesses. That idea mixed with 20th century Western pediatrics and stuck around. Today, the Australian Asthma Handbook and the European Academy of Allergy have dropped that recommendation. Milk leaves you with a sticky feeling. It doesn't fill you with mucus. In 1984, an Australian doctor drank a flask full of bacteria. Barry Marshall suspected that stomach ulcers were caused by a microorganism, not by stress or spicy food, as all of the gastroenterology of the time claimed. To prove it, he swallowed a culture of Helicobacter pylori, developed gastritis, and cured himself with antibiotics. In 2005, they gave him the Nobel. Ulcers are caused by a bacterium. Capsaicin, the active compound in chili peppers, doesn't damage the stomach lining. On the contrary, it has protective effects. In 1995, Bortolotti and colleagues published in the European Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology that capsicum stimulated the production of protective mucus and increased blood flow in the stomach wall. The myth comes from the immediate burning sensation that spicy food produces, confused with real damage. Spicy food doesn't give you ulcers, the bacterium does. Where does the number 8 come from? From no study, from no trial, from nowhere. In 2002, Heinz Walton, a physiologist at Dartmouth, published an exhaustive review in the American Journal of Physiology looking for that evidence. He found nothing. No clinical trial, no controlled experiment, nothing. The origin of the myth is a misreading. In 1945, the Food and Nutrition Board of the United States published a recommendation of about 85 ounces of water a day for adults. The same document, in the very next paragraph, clarified that most of that liquid comes from food. Nobody read that second paragraph. The figure was left floating, became 8 glasses, and was repeated for 80 years. Your body gets thirsty. Thirst works. For a healthy person, that's enough. The number 8 is marketing. Your thirst is biology. The label with its codes, E102, E330, E621. They told you that all that chemistry is slowly making you sick. Open the manual and look at the codes. E330 is citric acid, the same one lemons have. E300 is vitamin C. The E numbers don't mean dangerous chemical. They are the European coding system for approved additives, natural and synthetic alike. Toxicology works with a principle that Paracelsus established in 1538. The dose makes the poison. Water in excess can kill you, so can salt. The additives approved by the FDA and the EFSA pass evaluations that set safe daily consumption levels. The fear was born in the 70s with the naturalist movement, which questioned the industrialization of food, but installed the equation synthetic equals toxic without any basis. The number on the label doesn't poison you. The full ultra-processed pattern does. There are things nature produces that you absolutely don't want in your body. Hemlock, the mold on badly stored peanuts. Bacteria like botulism, all completely natural. Nature doesn't have a quality control department. Aflatoxin, produced by a common fungus in badly stored peanuts and corn, is one of the most damaging compounds for the liver that exists. The IARC, the WHO body that evaluates these compounds, classifies it in its highest category, and it's 100% natural. The word natural in food marketing rarely has a legal definition. The FDA tried to regulate it in 2015 without success. Any company can stamp natural on any product without meeting any requirements. The argument it's natural, so it's safe, is called the naturalistic fallacy. Toxicology doesn't work with the origin of the compound. It works with its chemical structure and its dose. Natural doesn't mean safe. In many cases, it means without a legal definition. You pick them in the aisle, you pay more for the dozen. The color of the shell says nothing about what's inside the egg. The shell depends only on the breed of the hen. Leghorns lay white eggs. Rhode Island Reds and Plymouth Rocks lay brown ones. The compositions of protein, fat, vitamins and minerals are identical. The USDA published comparative nutritional analyses and found no differences in any parameter. Why does the brown one cost more? The hens that lay them are bigger breeds. They eat more, and producing them costs more. Producers turned that cost into a selling point, associating the color with quality and naturalness. In the United States, white dominates the aisle. In Europe and Latin America, brown won. Pure regional marketing. The color doesn't change the egg, it changes the price. You throw out yogurts that are a day late, milk that expired yesterday, cheese right on the date. You're throwing out good food. There are two types of date. Best before indicates quality, not safety. Past that date, the food may lose flavor or texture, but it isn't necessarily contaminated. Use by is a safety date, and it applies to high-risk perishable products like meats and fresh dairy. In 2013, the Natural Resources Defense Council of the United States published the report The Dating Game. It estimated that 40% of the country's food waste was due to confusion over dates, and that the system had no consistent federal standards. Every company put whatever date it wanted, often a conservative one to cover itself legally. The date is decided by the company's legal department, not by the microbiology of the food. Your senses work too. Boiled. No oil, no fat, nothing. The diet option. The virtuous option. It's exactly the opposite. Water carries off the water-soluble vitamins, like vitamin C and the entire B group. The longer they boil and the more water you use, the more nutrients go down the drain. In 2008, Milio and colleagues published a study in the British Journal of Nutrition comparing 4 cooking methods on 4 vegetables. Boiling was the method that destroyed the most polyphenols and vitamin C. Steamed, microwaved, or sautéed with a little oil, the nutrients were preserved much better. The origin of the myth is in the 70s and 80s. The war on fat demonized every cooking method that used it. Boiling was left as a synonym for dietary purity. Boiling isn't healthy. It's the method that throws the most vitamins down the drain. The word radiation sets off the alarm, but microwave radiation is non-ionizing, just like radio waves or visible light. None of them alter molecules. Every cooking method destroys some nutrients. The microwave, compared with the rest, is among the least damaging because of its short times and little water. In 2009, Jimenez Monreal and colleagues published a study in the Journal of Food Science analyzing 20 vegetables with different cooking methods. The microwave preserved antioxidants better than boiling or frying in most cases. The fear became popular in the 80s with unsupported articles that linked the microwave with dead food. The FDA and the WHO officially debunked those rumors. The microwave doesn't kill food. Excessive boiling does kill vitamins. 30 to go. Later on, there's a myth about a food you probably eat for breakfast, convinced that it's healthy, and that actually has more sugar than a cookie. Keep watching. 84 minerals of the human body, ancient purity, the pink crystal of premium wellness. It's sodium chloride. Just like white salt, the traces of iron, calcium, magnesium, and potassium that give it the color are irrelevant in normal consumption amounts. In 2020, Flavia Fayette-Moore and colleagues from the University of Newcastle, Australia, published an analysis of 31 commercial samples in Frontiers in Nutrition. To get useful amounts of those minerals, you'd have to consume toxic amounts of salt. There's a worse detail. Common salt is usually iodized, which prevents goiter and thyroid problems. Pink salt usually isn't. The myth was built by Peter Ferreira and Barbara Hendel in their book Water and Salt: The Essence of Life, published in the 80s. They attributed 84 minerals and almost magical properties to Himalayan salt, without any scientific backing, but the salt lamps did the rest. It's sodium chloride wearing pink makeup. They told you that heat turns it toxic. You save it for the salad and cook with sunflower oil. You're doing the opposite of what you should. Extra virgin olive oil is one of the most heat-stable oils there is. Its smoke point is between 375 and 410 degrees Fahrenheit, perfect for sautéing and cooking over medium heat. In 2017, a study from the University of South Australia published in Acta Scientific Nutritional Health evaluated 10 oils. Extra virgin was the most stable and the one that generated the fewest oxidized compounds when heated. The myth was built by the seed oil industry in the 90s, which needed to differentiate itself from olive oil. Unsupported articles started circulating about the low smoke point of olive oil to push sunflower and canola, which are cheaper and more profitable. Heat doesn't destroy olive oil. What destroys it is letting it burn until it smokes. The Hollywood diet of the 30s was simple: 800 calories a day, grapefruit and eggs, 2 weeks. The movie stars lost weight for a role. From there came the idea of the negative calorie food. You eat more calories digesting it than it provides. It doesn't exist in nutritional physiology. The thermic effect of food, the calories you spend digesting it, runs about 5 to 10% of the total for foods low in protein. A grapefruit provides around 50 calories. Digesting it costs 5. In 2019, Sanaz Mehranfar and colleagues published a review of the grapefruit diet in Critical Reviews in Food Science and Nutrition. They found no evidence of fat burning attributable to the fruit. The small weight loss in some trials was explained because people ate grapefruit instead of something with more calories. The Florida grapefruit industry amplified the myth for decades. It's still alive on social media today. Grapefruit has no powers. It's a fruit. Yogurt with red berries, yogurt with mango, yogurt with strawberries. They sold it to you as a virtuous breakfast. Look at the label. A 4.5-ounce cup usually has between 15 and 25 grams of sugar. The WHO recommends not exceeding 25 grams of free sugar a day for an adult. In a single cup, you can consume almost the entire daily total before 9 in the morning. And the fruit? It's almost always jam or fruit concentrate with added sugar. What looks like pulp is sweetened puree. The dairy marketing of the 70s and 80s turned yogurt into a synonym for health to justify higher prices and expand the market beyond plain yogurt. Plain yogurt is a good food. Supermarket fruit yogurt is a dessert in disguise. Your nutritionist set you up with a plan of 6 meals. You woke up in the middle of the day for a snack. If you went more than 3 hours without eating, your metabolism supposedly slowed down. It doesn't work that way. The thermic effect of food, the calories you spend digesting it, is proportional to the total you eat in the day, not to the frequency. Eating 6 times or 3 times with the same total calories burns the same. In 2010, Cameron and colleagues published a study in the International Journal of Obesity with 179 obese adults. They found no significant differences in weight loss between eating 3 times and eating 6. The origin is in the supplement industry and in the nutrition clinics of the 80s, which promoted complex plans as a value-added service. More meals, more appointments, more products, more billing. It isn't how many times you eat, it's how much you eat in total. Cook with it, you put it in your coffee, you rub it on your skin. They told you that its saturated fat was special. Coconut oil is more than 80% saturated fat, more than butter. In 2017, the American Heart Association updated its advice in circulation and recommended against it, citing that it raised LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, in every controlled clinical study reviewed. Lauric acid is metabolized somewhat differently from other saturated fats. Yes, but not to the degree the marketing suggested. In 2018, Katie Kaw and colleagues from Cambridge published a 4-week trial with 94 adults in BMJ Open. Coconut oil raised HDL, the good one, more than olive oil and butter, but it also raised LDL, the bad one, compared with olive oil. A signal, not a verdict. A short study with a small sample. Coconut oil isn't the healthiest in the world. The AHA recommends against it for regular use. The morning ritual of Instagram and TikTok. They guarantee that it cleanses your liver, alkalizes your body, speeds up your metabolism, lowers your blood pressure, and improves your skin. All in one glass, every morning. A complete lie. Lemon water is exactly that. Water with lemon juice. It provides a few milligrams of vitamin C, some potassium, and little else. Zero detoxifying effect, zero alkalization, zero fat burning. Your liver already does the detox work on its own, all day long. Your body regulates blood pH with precision. It doesn't depend on what you drink on an empty stomach. In 2015, a review published in Critical Reviews in Food Science and Nutrition analyzed the properties attributed to citrus on an empty stomach. None of the commercial effects promised had any backing in rigorous clinical trials. The polyphenols in lemon do exist, but the amounts in half a lemon are too low to produce the advertised effects. The origin is in wellness books, like The Master Cleanse Diet by Stanley Burroughs, published in 1976, and thousands of unsupported blogs. TikTok went viral with it again starting in 2020, with accounts that move millions of views per video. Lemon water hydrates you. It doesn't cleanse, it doesn't alkalize, it doesn't slim you down, it hydrates. They sent you the viral video. Apple seeds contain cyanide, you have to avoid them. It has a grain of truth and a mountain of exaggeration. The seeds contain amygdalin, a compound that releases small amounts of cyanide when chewed. So far, all true. What changes everything is the dose. For an average adult to receive a truly dangerous amount, they would have to chew and grind between 150 and 250 seeds, according to calculations published by toxicologists at the University of Leeds in 2015. Swallowing them whole doesn't count. That's roughly the content of 18 to 25 apples. If you accidentally swallow a few whole, the body eliminates them intact because the hard coating is indigestible. The origin of the panic comes from a 19th century case in which someone suffered serious harm from consuming large amounts of peach seeds, a different species with much higher concentrations of amygdalin. The story got mixed up with apples and the myth was born. Apple seeds contain cyanide in insignificant amounts. The fruit is perfectly safe. It slims you down, detoxes you, regulates your blood sugar, improves digestion, balances your pH, lowers your blood pressure, all in one spoonful. It has only one modest proven effect. In 2004, Carol Johnston from Arizona State University published a study in Diabetes Care. 2 tablespoons of vinegar reduced the blood sugar spike after eating by 34% in people with insulin resistance. It's real, but it's a small effect in a very specific context. The rest has no solid clinical backing. Not the pH, not the detoxification, not the magic cure, and drinking it undiluted can damage your tooth enamel and your esophagus. In 1958, the American doctor D.C. Jarvis popularized it in his book Folk Medicine, selling it as an ancestral Vermont remedy without any backing. TikTok gave it a second life 60 years later. Apple cider vinegar has a modest and specific effect. It isn't a liquid pharmacy. Which toxin? Basic question. Ask for the chemical name of the toxin that your green juice supposedly eliminates. They'll never give it to you because it doesn't exist. Your body already has a detox system. It's called the liver and kidneys. They work 24 hours a day. They filter ammonia, alcohol, drugs, the products of metabolism. No green juice speeds up that process or eliminates anything extra. In 2015, Edzard Ernst, Professor Emeritus of Complementary Medicine at the University of Exeter, published a critical review of the studies on commercial detoxes. None of them had a rigorous methodological design. None of them identified the toxins supposedly eliminated. Wellness marketing moves more than $5 billion a year in detox products alone, according to Allied Market Research in 2020. An entire industry selling a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. The toxins in detox have no name. The ones your liver eliminates do. This warning applies to people with pre-existing chronic kidney disease. Period. For healthy kidneys, there's no evidence of harm. In 2016, Jose Antonio and colleagues published a review in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition. They followed men consuming more than 3 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight for a year. That's an extremely high intake, far above any recommendation. They found no adverse changes in kidney function. Where does the myth come from? From studies in patients with kidney failure, where restricting protein is necessary. The extrapolation to healthy people was a medical mistake that became dogma for decades. Many professionals still repeat it. High protein doesn't break healthy kidneys. Pre-existing kidney disease does require care. You buy fresh because you believe it's better, but that fresh has 5 days in transit and 3 more on the shelf. Freezing stops the biological time of the food. It's the preservation method that destroys the fewest nutrients, compared with the deterioration of days in refrigeration, exposure to air, or prolonged cooking. Vegetables frozen at the moment of their peak ripeness can have more nutrients than fresh vegetables that have been traveling for days. In 2017, Ali Bouzari and colleagues from the University of California, Davis published a comparison in the Journal of Food Composition and Analysis. In 5 of 8 nutrients measured, there were no significant differences between fresh and frozen, and in some, the frozen won. The myth lives in the cultural association between fresh and better. It's true for texture, but not for nutritional value. The cold doesn't kill nutrients. The days in the crisper drawer do. 18 to go. Soon you'll understand why the people who drink the most milk fracture the most, and why diet foods sometimes make you gain weight. Fewer calories, less weight, a simple equation. Not so simple. Artificial sweeteners alter the gut microbiota and can affect the insulin response in some people. In 2014, Jotham Suez and the team of Eran Segal and Eran Elinav from the Weizmann Institute published a study in Nature. They suggested that saccharin altered the bacterial flora of mice and of a small group of humans, affecting glucose tolerance. Modest effects, later studies didn't replicate them uniformly, open evidence. There's another simpler mechanism. The sweet taste without calories can increase the appetite for caloric foods. The promise of eating without consequences ends up triggering total consumption. Tab, the first diet soda from Coca-Cola, came out in 1963. The marketing targeted women with messages about figure and freedom. The industry built an entire category on the promise. Light foods don't slim you down. Sometimes they do the opposite. Refined, empty, pure glucose. The difference is abysmal, they told you. The difference exists, but the poison is an exaggeration. White rice has a higher glycemic index than brown, true. But the glycemic impact depends on what you eat it with, how it's cooked, and on the total dietary context. Japan has one of the highest white rice consumptions in the world and one of the lowest rates of obesity and type 2 diabetes. In 2012, Hu and colleagues from Harvard published a meta-analysis in the BMJ with 4 prospective cohorts. High white rice consumption was associated with a greater risk of diabetes, and the association was stronger in Asian populations. The absolute risk, however, depends on the context. Fish, vegetables, green tea, low intake of added sugars. Brown rice has more fiber. White rice isn't poison. Almonds, walnuts, cashews, sky-high calories, fat everywhere. And yet, they don't make you fat. The fat is predominantly unsaturated, and regular consumption is associated with lower body weight, not higher. In 2013, the Predumed trial followed 7,447 participants in Spain and was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. The Mediterranean diet, supplemented with nuts and olive oil, reduced major cardiovascular events by 30%. Why don't they make you fat? Satiety. Nuts create a feeling of fullness because of their fat, fiber, and protein content. People who eat them regularly tend to compensate by eating less at other meals, according to a 2012 analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. The myth comes from the 80s, when fat was a synonym for bad. Any fatty food fell onto the blacklist without distinction between types. The fat in nuts doesn't make you fat. It fills you up. Coffee is probably the most studied food in the world. The conclusion of 4 decades of research is counterintuitive. It's good for you. In 2017, Robin Poole and colleagues published a review of 201 meta-analyses on coffee and health in the BMJ. Consuming 3 to 4 cups a day was associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's, and liver cirrhosis. The benefits outweighed the risks in most populations. Where does the fear come from? 2 sources. In the 17th century, several European countries tried to ban it for political reasons. The cafes were places of conspiracy. In the 20th century, badly designed studies from the 70s attributed serious risks to it, without taking into account that almost all the coffee drinkers of the time also smoked. Bad statistics, good headline, coffee doesn't harm you. The absence of context in the old studies distorted the data. Training on an empty stomach. Without glucose, the body supposedly burns fat directly. What elite athletes do, they told you on Instagram. It isn't universally superior. In 2011, Brad Schoenfeld published a review on fasted training in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition. Fat burning during exercise increases slightly, but the total effect on body composition over the course of the day balances out. And performance in high-intensity exercise drops without available glucose. Intermittent fasting has legitimate applications. Instagram Fitness simplified the topic until it became incorrect. Fasting equals fat burning sounds good, but it ignores the full physiology. For someone who trains between 30 and 60 minutes at moderate intensity, eating or not beforehand makes little difference. For high intensity, eating helps. Fasting isn't magic. Eating well beforehand doesn't ruin the workout either. The countries that drink the most milk in the world, like Sweden, Finland, and the United States, have the highest rates of osteoporotic hip fractures on the planet. It's no coincidence. In 2014, Carl Mickelson and his team from Uppsala University published a cohort study in the BMJ with 106,000 Swedes followed for 20 years. The women who drank more than 3 glasses of milk a day had higher mortality and more fractures than those who drank less. The proposed mechanism is galactose, a sugar present in milk that could cause chronic inflammation over the long term. It isn't that milk is poison, it's that calcium doesn't live only in milk. It lives in sardines, broccoli, sesame seeds, tofu, kale, and it needs vitamin D, resistance exercise, and a complete dietary pattern. The Got Milk of 1993 was a campaign paid for by the California Milk Processor Board, not a medical recommendation. The dairy industry funded the USDA guidelines starting in the 50s. Milk isn't indispensable. Basic question. Which chocolate? Because there are 2 very different products sold under the same name. Dark chocolate with more than 70% cacao has flavanols, compounds with documented antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. In 2011, Buitrago Lopez and colleagues published a meta-analysis of 7 observational studies with 114,009 participants in the BMJ. Higher chocolate consumption was associated with a 37% reduction in the risk of cardiovascular disease and 29% in the risk of stroke. Association, not causation, but the signal is consistent. The chocolate with milk, with added sugar and a caramel filling is another thing. It's an industrial candy. There the flavanols drop to a minimum and the sugar and low-quality fat take over. The moral condemnation of cacao comes from centuries back. The Catholic Church debated whether it broke the fast. That moral burden was secularized in the modern diet as a guilty food. Real dark chocolate isn't a vice. The filled bar from the supermarket is. Gluten is problematic for 3 specific groups. Celiacs, around 1% of the population. People with non-celiac gluten sensitivity, a prevalence still under debate. And those allergic to wheat. For everyone else, there's no evidence of harm. In 2017, Benjamin Lebwohl and Walter Willett from Harvard published a review in the BMJ with data from 110,000 people without celiac disease. Avoiding gluten didn't improve cardiovascular health and could worsen it because it led to lower consumption of beneficial whole grains. The story is interesting. In 2011, the gastroenterologist Peter Gibson from Monash University published a study that seemed to confirm non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Then he himself refuted it in 2013 with a more rigorous design, attributing the symptoms to FODMAPs, a group of fermentable sugars present in many foods. Not to gluten, but the first study had already fueled a commercial boom of billions of dollars that is still going strong. Gluten doesn't harm you if you aren't celiac. What harms you is the ultra-processed food that contains it. When you squeeze an orange, you leave out the fiber and take only the sugar. That's the whole difference, and it's enormous. Fiber is what regulates the speed at which sugar enters the blood. Without fiber, the fructose reaches the liver fast and creates a glycemic spike similar to that of a soda. In 2013, Meraki and colleagues published an analysis of data from 187,382 people followed for 24 years in the BMJ. Replacing 3 weekly servings of juice with whole fruit reduced the risk of type 2 diabetes by 7%. 100% natural, no added sugar on the label, changes nothing. The sugar from squeezed fruit works almost the same as the sugar from a soda. The citrus industry of Florida and California positioned juice as a symbol of morning health starting in the 40s. Pure marketing. Whole fruit nourishes you. Juice is liquid sugar. Keto, paleo, Atkins, same idea. Carbohydrates kill you. A simple argument, a more nuanced science. Complex carbohydrates like legumes, whole grains, and vegetables are the main energy source of the human brain. Glucose is the only fuel that neurons can use directly. In 2018, Seidelman and colleagues published an analysis of more than 15,000 people in The Lancet Public Health, combined with a meta-analysis of more than 432,000 participants. The curve was a U. Both very low and very high carbohydrate consumption were associated with higher mortality. The optimum was in the middle, around 50 to 55% of calories. Robert Atkins published Dr. Atkins' Diet Revolution in 1972 and turned carbohydrates into the popular villain. His book sold 15 million copies. The protein and supplement industry found in the anti-carb message its best-selling point. It isn't the carbohydrates, it's the type, refined or whole, and the amount. 8 left. You're going to find out why the morning pill isn't enough and why eating well isn't expensive. Stop wasting money on vitamin and mineral supplements. That's the translation of the title of an editorial published in 2013 in Annals of Internal Medicine by Eliseo Gualar and colleagues from Johns Hopkins. They reviewed 3 large clinical trials with multivitamins and concluded, without diplomacy, that in well-nourished people, they don't reduce the risk of chronic diseases. Foods contain thousands of compounds that interact with each other in ways that aren't replicated in a pill. The polyphenols, the phytochemicals, the fiber, the physical structure of the plant cell. All of that affects how nutrients are absorbed and used. The pill doesn't replace the plate. Broccoli does things that the supplement can't copy. The brown color reads as natural, artisanal, less processed. And you pay more. It's the same molecule with makeup. Brown sugar is white sugar with added molasses or partially refined. They have the same sucrose, the same glycemic index, practically the same calories. The difference in minerals like iron or calcium is so small that for it to matter, you'd have to consume absurd amounts. The marketing needed a premium version of a basic product. The dark color activates associations with the natural and the less processed. It worked. The color doesn't change the chemistry. Sugar is sugar. You pay double or triple for the organic seal. The promise is more vitamins, more minerals, more nutritious food. In 2012, Crystal Smith-Spangler from Stanford published the largest meta-analysis on organic foods up to that date in Annals of Internal Medicine. 223 studies comparing organic with conventional. She concluded that there's no consistent evidence that organic foods are more nutritious. The differences in vitamins, minerals, and proteins are minimal and without clinical relevance. The organic movement did something legitimate, questioning pesticides, biodiversity, and soils. But the marketing took that environmental concern and slapped on top of it nutritional claims that science doesn't support. Organic may be better for the planet, not necessarily for your body. The green carton behind every Instagram athlete. The promise is natural electrolytes, superior hydration. Coconut water has potassium, around 600 milligrams per cup, plus some sodium, magnesium, and calcium. For a sedentary person, or one with moderate activity, regular water and a normal diet cover electrolytes without any problem. In 2012, Douglas Coleman and colleagues published a trial in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition comparing coconut water, regular water, and a sports drink after 60 minutes of exercise. The 3 rehydrated the same. Only in prolonged exercise of more than 90 minutes with intense sweating is there any theoretical advantage of coconut water over plain water. And there, a common sports drink beats it for less money. Vita Coco and Zico created the market starting in 2004. Madonna, Demi Moore, and Rihanna invested and lent their faces. A $6 billion a year category built on celebrity marketing. Coconut water isn't magic. It's a liquid fruit with good marketing. Your mom dragged you out of bed so you wouldn't leave without breakfast. Television repeated it. Doctors too. In 2019, a review in the BMJ analyzed 13 controlled studies. There's no proof that eating breakfast slims you down or that skipping it makes you gain weight. In several studies, the group that didn't eat breakfast consumed fewer total calories a day. The origin is advertising. In 1944, the cereal company Grapenuts funded a massive campaign called Breakfast for Better Health. It positioned breakfast as a medical necessity. John Harvey Kellogg, the inventor of cornflakes, had spent decades promoting breakfast for moral and commercial reasons, not medical ones. Breakfast isn't magical. It's a meal. If you're hungry when you wake up, eat. If not, it isn't mandatory. Chia seeds are nutritious. So far, all good. The problem is the exaggeration. The omega-3 in chia is ALA, alpha-linolenic acid. The body converts it into the active forms of omega-3, EPA and DHA, with an efficiency of barely 5 to 15%, according to data from the National Institutes of Health. It isn't equivalent to the omega-3 in fish. The protein isn't complete in optimal proportions, and no isolated food changes your health. That's done by the complete pattern. The boom began in 2009. Christopher McDougall published Born to Run, where he mentioned the Tarahumara runners of Mexico eating chia before long races. The food industry took the reference and built an entire category of superfoods valued at billions. Chia is a good food. It isn't a medicine. Whey, also known as whey protein, is high-quality protein with an excellent amino acid profile. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't make you huge. Getting huge requires years of progressive training, sustained caloric surplus, and often pharmacological help. Protein powder is just a tool to reach your daily requirements. It's especially useful for older adults with sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass associated with age. Also for vegetarians who have trouble reaching their protein intake, or anyone who doesn't hit the target with solid food. In 2017, Robert Morton and colleagues published a meta-analysis in the British Journal of Sports Medicine with 49 studies and 1,863 participants. It confirmed that protein supplementation increased muscle mass and strength, but the effects didn't depend on extreme volumes. The gym marketing of the 80s created the image of exclusivity to justify high prices. It still works. Ultra-processed foods are cheap in price per calorie, but expensive in health consequences. The most nutritious foods per cost aren't the exotic ones. They're legumes, eggs, sardines, oats, cabbage, carrots, the banana. In 2013, Mayuri Rao and colleagues from Harvard published a meta-analysis in BMJ Open comparing the cost of healthy and unhealthy diets in 10 countries. The difference was approximately $1.50 a day per person. Significant for some budgets, but not the abysmal gap that popular discourse installs. The trap was the marketing of premium products, which captured the word healthy and turned it into a synonym for expensive. The organic, the gluten-free, the gourmet, the wellness. The ultra-processed industry needs you to believe there's no affordable alternative. Eating well doesn't require superfoods. It requires information, time, and a change of aisle. 40 Food lies sold to you as science. Comment the one that stung the most and subscribe. And remember, I'm the LieLab monkey.